Yeah, you can keep that one. I don't want to look at that picture. This picture just shows, it's just a cold, blank stare with almost a smirk on his face. I know this look. I've seen it. I know it. There's no emotion here. There's no, it's almost like it's a shell of a person. This is a very hateful, cruel human being. I mean, if he even deserves that title. This picture says a million words and it says it all. So no, I don't like to look at that one. The amount of times I heard, oh, he's just a kid. Oh, that poor child. It makes me sick. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know the story. They don't know what lies behind him. They don't know what he did. That's not a scared kid. It's a demon. This is a picture of Nita and Chance. He was probably almost 2 years old in this picture. And you see how happy she was as a mom. And these were the good times when, you know, Chance was the love of her life and her whole world just revolved around him. Nita was so young. She was 17 years old when she got pregnant with Chance. She was 18 when she gave birth to him. Chance did not get his name by mistake. You know, she was dealing with trauma from her past, trauma from our childhood, and she named him that because she said that he was her second chance at life and that she was going to do this right because it meant something to her. But now looking back, I don't think he deserves his name. Nita battled demons for years due to the trauma of being trafficked, of being abused. It was an ongoing, daily struggle. During that time period, Nita was working and trying to better her life. As soon as she would start to pick herself back up, something would knock her back down. Chance was about 2 years old when Nita first lost custody of him. She was not okay. She was devastated. At that point, our mother and stepfather actually did end up with temporary custody of him. Nita used to always ask me, is he okay? Promise me you'll take care of him. Promise me you'll look out for him. I mean, it was almost like a desperation for her. And so I promised her that I'd always look out for him. I think the effect on Chance living with my mother and my stepfather was probably very significant. Nita saw Chance every opportunity she could. She would call and want to see him and, oh, we're out of town this week, you can't come, or we're busy this weekend, you can't come. And so I'm sure Chance felt that repercussion. Maybe he thought his mother abandoned him. I would have to explain to him, it's not that your mom doesn't want to see you. There's things going on. Luckily, I only lived like 2 streets over, and so I would go see him every day. You know, we used to do a lot together. We went, you know, to the movies, four-wheeling. We were just always together, and I could never fill the void of his mother, but the least I could do was at least be there. So we had this family dog that grew up with Chance. He would pet her and, spend time with her, and she slept with him a lot when he was living there. She got old and she passed away. Chance was around 9 at the time. I'm thinking, how do I say this to him? How do I let it play out so that way he'll understand and let him know it's okay to cry.
Have a seat, bud.
So we sat him down and told him, that she had passed away, and it was strange because it was just like a blank stare, just nothing. I expected him to ask questions. What happened, or where is she? I expected something. I didn't really care.
Anything you want to ask me?
And I think it's something that kind of took me by surprise. In that time, I thought, okay, well, maybe this is how he's going to deal with it. He's just going to put it in the back of his head and he'll deal with it on his own. I look back and I'm like, what Chance did was just not normal. It's a lack of emotion, a lack of empathy. And we saw that as Chance was growing up. We just didn't think anything of it then. And now looking back, it was definitely a pattern. I always rooted to see them together. I always wanted to see them together. So, I was happy. And at that point, she was in the early stages of pregnancy with her second son. And so, she was excited that she would have both of her boys and she would get to raise them together. He was excited to show the books and told me how he was going to read to the baby. He was really excited to be a big brother. That was the most excited I'd ever seen him. And of course, we were all excited, to welcome this new little boy into the world. I do know there was allegations of drug abuse, and so they stepped in and they took the baby based on the allegations, very false allegations. They took him, but Nita still had Chance. They left Chance in place. And, Nita immediately hired an attorney and she prepared for a fight. And I remember being in court, and one of the caseworkers had said to her, the best thing you can do is just let them adopt this baby. Because if we have to keep coming to court, have to keep doing this, we're gonna come get your oldest, meaning Chance.
You are in no condition to raise a newborn.
I remember seeing her, she slammed her hands down.
These are false charges.
Nita?
She said, how do I do this? She was so devastated.
I can't do this.
She was just crying. And I remember her taking that pen and signing that paper and walking away. Signing those papers really broke Nita. The papers were soaked in tears because she had just been told, if you keep fighting, we're gonna take them both. She felt like she didn't have any choice. I think she felt defeated, and she felt that that's what she had to do to protect Chance. Chance knew that Nita had to make a choice that day. That's when you would see the flares of anger.
How could you let this happen?
It didn't take long for Chance to start throwing it in her face and telling her how she should have fought for the baby. He used it as almost a weapon. That was his weapon against her, was saying, you know, you lost my brother. And he knew what to say to hurt her. Chance, the kid I used to know versus the kid that he became was so dramatically different. It's like something had switched in him. So one day when I went to see them, and when I got there, Nita was upset.
What's going on?
She told me that Chance had gotten in trouble at school. Chance told Nita that he stabbed somebody in the neck with a pencil. And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
And I asked her, you know, well, is he suspended? Were the cops called? Was this person seriously injured? I'm asking these questions, and even she was like, no, the cops weren't called. And I mean, think about it. If somebody is stabbed in the neck with a pencil, there's absolutely going to be cops called. I think at this point, we came to the conclusion this didn't really happen. But the most concerning part was that he had come up with this story, and in coming up with this story, it means he was fantasizing about hurting somebody. I learned, you know, from his friends that he's saying he beat somebody with the butt of a gun, or he was in these, you know, altercations that never happened. So he's most definitely having fantasies of death and destruction. One night I stopped by Nita's to check in. They were in an argument.
You can't treat people like that, Chance.
She was upset with him because he was getting in trouble at school. He was being disrespectful to teachers. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Nita, for the first time that I know of, finally stood her ground and actually grounded him.
No video games, no internet, you're cut off.
He started getting like really just disrespectful, and
I think I respect you.
Chance had a habit of yelling. He said something like, I don't give a what you say. She told him, she said, you're not gonna talk to me that way.
I hate you.
No! You cannot talk to your mother like that.
Then he said, you know, you're the reason that I don't even have my brother. Chance was looking at her with like this cold, angry stare. Like no emotion behind it. It was almost as if it was a warning. She kind of looked back at him, and I remember her walking backwards. It was like he had this switch that he could just turn. And I mean, just the look and the smirk, it's almost like he was so almost cocky, confident. In that moment, I was a little stunned. It was kind of shocking. I think that was one of those moments I went, is Nita safe with Chance? Everything just kind of changed the night that Nita called me. When I got there, she was a complete wreck. She told me that the night before, her and Chance had gotten into an argument in the driveway.
I can't believe you.
I told you I was going to
You
dinner with
lied.
a friend.
And Chance was in her face and was screaming at her, and I think had pushed her.
I hate you.
Her boyfriend got in between them and told Chance, you know, you're not going to disrespect your mother that way. And Chance punched her boyfriend in the face.
What?
At this point, she's crying, but he is like pumped and hopping around and just screaming.
What are you gonna do about it, huh?
He had been enraged and out of control and cussing before, but this is the first time that he had actually assaulted someone. It just kind of goes to show just how out of control he was and how almost fearless he was. And then, you know, he was scared that the cops were gonna show up, and so Chance took off. I think as a mother, I think it was just easier for her to think that he was going through a phase than to realize that he was actually becoming dangerous. She blamed herself a lot for how he was acting, but she also believed that with enough encouragement, he could straighten out, is how she put it. I mean, we're sitting here today, so things definitely didn't get better. With Chance being willing to actually hit somebody, like Nita's boyfriend, it tells me that he had no fear of anybody. We knew that he was being a bad kid, but things were escalating. You know, by the time we put it all together, it was just too late. When Chance ran away that night, we tracked his phone. We, called all the friends that we knew of, and we eventually found out that Chance was at a friend's house. So I get him in the car, and Chance is like, he's quiet, but the way he's like just staring with his arms crossed, he wasn't happy. We stopped at the gas station to fill up and get some snacks. While we're at the gas station, Nita's boyfriend called her.
Hello? Yeah, we found her.
So when Chance realizes who's on the phone, it's like he switched.
You hear me? I'm gonna kick your ass. If I find you, I'll kill you.
He said, I'll give you another effing black eye. And so like he was making threats to the boyfriend on the phone. And I mean, he was just really just kind of out of control in Nita's face and screaming.
You hear me? You hear me? I'm gonna kick your ass. If I find you, I'll kill you.
Nita was crying and she was asking him, why would you do this? I was worried about you. And Chance was just like so angry, and he was screaming at her. He was in her face, telling her, why can't you let me live my life?
You're the worst mom ever.
I mean, just right in her face. I mean, you're talking forehead to forehead, screaming at her. He kind of pushes her, and I grabbed him and I pulled him back. I was honestly kind of in shock and disbelief on how he was reacting. And I remember telling him, you can't be disrespectful to your mom like that. This is not okay. She's doing everything she can.
Everything she does is for you!
And, Nita's crying. And that's when she told me, Chance just doesn't want me with him. He didn't care about her and her happiness or how she felt. I think he felt like he had won. And that's the first time I ever saw him be physical with his mother. And there was something more going on. I just didn't want to push too hard. And now I look back and I wish I would have. Chance doesn't want to go back to the boyfriend's house. Nita's not going to leave her son. And so I took them to a hotel and I paid for it. And she did what she always does. She kissed me on the forehead. She said, I love you. I'll call you tomorrow. And I drove off, and I remember seeing her driving off, and I look in my rear mirror, and she turned her head, And she looked back. It's almost like we made eye contact in the mirror. I think that moment is heavier now because it was the last time I ever saw her. And I left him with her. And I knew things weren't good. I knew he was progressively getting worse. I knew he was dangerous. I knew it. And I lived with that. And I left him there. I could have changed the story that night. And I didn't. It's not my fault what he did. But I always wonder if I had made a different decision that night. If I had taken him back with me. Just anything. If I would have done anything different, could it have prevented this? It's like the last picture, I believe, of them two together. Even though there were issues going on in the home, you clearly see how much she still loved him. And it's written all over her face. But if you look at him, he's smiling, but it's not like a real smile. Just knowing that this was one of the last pictures of them two together and knowing what followed it, it's this unborn child. That's most definitely the worst thing I'd ever heard him say up until that point. She openly expressed that she was genuinely scared of Chance and she was scared for her safety. I wish I would have put it all together sooner. You know, I didn't realize, I guess, the escalation and how things were building. It was a Sunday morning, and there's this knocking on our door. And there was two cops standing there. And the one said, "I'm sorry, your sister's been murdered." And I think I just kind of stared at him because these words that are coming out of his mouth just are not making any sense at all. It's like my knees got weak. I'm still kind of in and out of it. He starts asking me questions. Who would want to do this to her? And when was the last time you saw your nephew? And have you heard from him in the last couple of days? And then I remember him saying, you know, would her son do this? Then everything just kind of started slamming together on me. You know, all the warning signs and all the red flags, the violence, the threats, the manipulation, the lack of empathy, all of it's just coming together at one time. Who's the person that can get that close to her? And who's the one person that she wouldn't hurt? It was him. It was Chance. And the detective called. He said, hey, Betty, we found him. And he asked me, are you sitting down? And he said, Chance confessed to the murder of your sister. And I said, oh, God, okay. And he said, do you want to know how? And I said, I just lose the baby. We lost Chance. We lost 3 people that day. In one act, 3 lives were were gone. There was no relief and there was no peace in that. The murderer is caught and he's my nephew. Plan. They had gotten home and she was putting up groceries. He went and changed clothes, got the knife from his dresser drawer where he says he kept it. He walked into the kitchen where she was and he attacked her from behind. I absolutely believe he caught her unaware. The cabinets were still open up above her. The groceries, some of them were still in the bag. What he did was so violent. He could have done it quickly, and he didn't. But then we found out that's not what killed her. That she was still alive. And that he had wrapped a cord around her throat. And he strangled her until she did die. This is a woman that is lying on the ground. Her son had just stabbed her 57 times. She's clearly in a lot of pain. She's obviously scared. She's still awake. She's still very much conscious. And her one goal is to tell the person who did this to her that it's okay. She knew she was gonna die. And she still loved him so much. To try to comfort him in her dying moments. It's just evil. That's just almost satanic to do that to her. He stayed calm and got dressed and went and partied with his friends. This was a life he wanted, and he killed her to get it. But I never, ever would I imagine that the person she gave life to would take hers. Just knowing, like, how much she loved him. I'd always promised Nita that I would take care of him. I was so angry at him. I was so mad and so hurt. But I still had to take care of him. And I did. I felt like I had to. And at that point, it was more about the love for her and the promise that I made her. It took 4.5 years to get to trial. So for 4.5 years, I continued to put money on his books because it was the only way I knew how to take care of him when, he's in jail. And that's when I finally said, I'm gonna ask the hard questions. We're gonna dig into this. Like, I need to know what the hell happened. And I said, why? There was no really answer to it. And I'd asked him why he just didn't stop after he had already stabbed her 57 times and she was still alive. He told me because she wouldn't die. He wanted her to die. That little bastard. I can still hear his voice in my head saying it. I still remember him saying it. And a fire was lit at that point, and I knew I couldn't stop until she had justice. It just made her legacy stronger.
In the pursuit of adventure, a young man can chase dreams or stumble into nightmares. Cullen Thomas, fresh from university, stood at the crossroads of a mundane life and a world of endless possibilities. With a heart full of wanderlust, he set out to conquer the unknown, to carve his name in the annals of experience. But the path he chose led not to glory, but to a dark abyss of crime and consequence. This is the story of a dreamer, a smuggler, and a man who fought to reclaim his soul. From the neon streets of Seoul to the lush mountains of the Philippines, from the confines of a Korean prison to the quiet redemption of a changed life, Cullen's journey poses a searing question. Can a man outrun his mistakes, or will they forever chain him? Join us as we unravel the life of Cullen Thomas, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and the search for forgiveness.
The Call of the Unknown.
In the heart of New York, where skyscrapers cast long shadows and the hum of ambition never ceased, Cullen Thomas grew up restless. The son of a hard-working father and a nurturing mother, he was raised on stories of explorers and poets, of men and women who dared to defy the ordinary. "The world is bigger than this city," his mother would say, her eyes alight with dreams she'd never chased. Those words became Cullen's compass, a promise that he would not be confined to the predictable rhythms of a 9-to-5 life. At 22, armed with a degree in literature but no clear path, Cullen felt trapped. His friends in New York reveled in the monotony of bar crawls and dead-end jobs, but Cullen yearned for more. "I wanted to see the world," he later recalled, his voice tinged with the fire of youth. "Not just read about it, but live it." His girlfriend, Rocket, a college sweetheart with a spirit as wild as her name, shared his hunger for adventure. Together, they dreamed of distant shores, of lives unbound by convention. Cullen Thomas was no ordinary graduate. He was a young man driven by a thirst for meaning, for stories that would define him. But the world is a vast and unforgiving place, and dreams can lead to treacherous paths. For Cullen, a single article in the New York Times would set him on a course that would change his life forever. One gray morning, Cullen stumbled across an article about teaching English in South Korea. The promise was tantalizing. $2,000 a month, free airfare, medical insurance, a ticket to a new life. "This is it," he told Rocket, his eyes blazing with conviction. "We're going." Rocket, though hesitant, was swept up in his enthusiasm. They packed their bags, bid farewell to New York, and boarded a plane to Seoul, their hearts pounding with the thrill of the unknown. But Seoul was not the adventure they'd imagined. The city greeted them with gray skies, concrete jungles, and a pervasive layer of soot. "What are we doing here?" Rocket whispered, her voice heavy with doubt. Cullen, ever the optimist, forced a smile. "It's just the beginning," he said. But deep down, he felt the first stirrings of disillusionment.
A stifled spirit.
In a cramped classroom, Cullen stood before a sea of Korean students, teaching phrases like, "What's your hobby?" and "I like to write." The hours dragged on, 8 or 9 a day, each one a reminder that this was not the adventure he'd envisioned. "I felt like I was suffocating," he later confessed. "I wanted to write novels, to live a life worth writing about. This wasn't it." Rocket, too, struggled. The traditional inn where they stayed was charming but isolating, its wooden walls a far cry from the vibrant world they'd dreamed of. They clung to each other, their love a fragile anchor in a sea of uncertainty. But the spark of adventure still burned in Cullen's chest, and he refused to let it die. Imagine being Cullen Thomas. You've left everything behind for a dream, only to find yourself trapped in a life that feels smaller than the one you fled. The world you sought is out there, but it's just beyond your reach. Where do you turn? For Cullen, the answer lay in a chance encounter, a whisper of something dangerous and irresistible. One evening at the inn, Cullen and Rocket met 2 American women, carefree travelers with stories of distant lands. Over tea, one of the women leaned in, her voice low. "We've got a friend who's sending us something special," she said, her eyes glinting with mischief. Cullen's curiosity piqued. "What is it?" he asked. The women exchanged a glance, then invited them to a back room. There, in a haze of cigarette smoke, the women opened a box filled with styrofoam peanuts. From within, they lifted 2 coffee tins, popping the lids to reveal slabs of dark, fragrant hashish. "Direct from the Philippines," one said, grinning. Cullen's eyes widened, his heart racing. Rocket, sensing danger, gripped his arm. "What are we getting into?" she whispered. But Cullen was already captivated, his mind spinning with possibilities.
The lure of Sagada.
The women explained that their friend, a mysterious figure named Tocqueville, had sourced the hashish from Sagada, a remote town in the Philippines mountain province. They were selling it to foreigners in Seoul, pocketing thousands of dollars. If they can do it, Cullen thought, why can't I? The idea took root, a dangerous seed in fertile soil. He turned to Rocket, his voice urgent. "We could make real money, travel the world. This is our chance." Rocket was horrified. "You're insane," she said, her eyes blazing. "Do you know what happens if you get caught?" But Cullen was relentless, his ambition drowning out her warnings. "No one gets caught," he insisted. "It's easy money." Against her better judgment, Rocket relented, her love for Cullen outweighing her fear. Sagada was more than a place for Cullen. It was a myth, a promise of wealth and freedom. But paradise always has a shadow, and in the lush mountains of the Philippines, a dark world awaited. Cullen was about to step into a game he didn't fully understand, one that would test his courage and his soul. Cullen enlisted Zach, a freewheeling friend in Seoul, to help with the plan. "Pick up a package at the post office," Cullen said. "We'll split the profits." Zach, drawn to the thrill, agreed. With the logistics in place, Cullen and Rocket flew to Manila, leaving Korea's dreary winter behind. The tropics were a revelation. Palm trees, vibrant sunsets, the warm kiss of the ocean breeze. "This is it," Cullen said, gazing at Manila Bay. "This is where it all begins." After a week in Manila, they boarded a rickety bus to Sagada. The journey was grueling, but the scenery was breathtaking. Emerald rice terraces, mist-shrouded mountains, a world untouched by time. "This is what we came for," Cullen said, his voice alive with excitement. Rocket nodded, but her eyes betrayed her unease.
The deal in the mountains.
In Sagada, Cullen wasted no time. At a local cafe, he struck up a conversation with a group of Filipino men playing cards. One, a wiry man named Bruce, offered him a slab of hashish. The best, Bruce said, his smile sly. Cullen, emboldened, asked for a kilo. Bruce didn't flinch. No problem, he said. Tomorrow. The next day, Bruce delivered a kilo of hashish, compact and potent, for a price so low it seemed too good to be true. Cullen handed over the cash, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. It's too easy, he thought, tucking the package into his bag. Rocket watched in silence, her face a mask of worry. With that exchange, Cullen Thomas crossed a line. He wasn't just a dreamer anymore. He was a smuggler, playing a dangerous game in a land far from home. But the thrill of victory blinded him to the risks, and a darker ambition was stirring within him. Back in their room, Cullen stared at the kilo, his mind racing. Why stop here, he thought. Another kilo, another $10,000. He turned to Rocket, ignoring her protests. We're doing it again, he said. One more time. Rocket's voice trembled. This is greed, Cal. You promised it'd be okay. Cullen brushed her off. It will be, he said, but the words felt hollow. Days later, Bruce returned, this time with a second kilo and a higher price. Cullen hesitated, sensing a shift in Bruce's demeanor. He's fleecing me, he thought, but the thought of saying no, of walking away, filled him with dread. What could they do to us out here, he wondered. He paid, and Bruce's parting words chilled him. Be careful in Manila. Your eyes will give you away.
The package and the post office.
Back in Manila, Cullen prepared the first kilo for shipment to Seoul. He and Rocket stuffed it into a box using fake names for the sender and recipient. At the post office, Cullen's nerves were frayed, but the clerk, a friendly Filipino who mistook him for British and pantomimed boxing moves, put him at ease. Books and tapes, Cullen lied, signing the declaration. The package was sent, and relief washed over him. I'm invincible, he thought, the thrill of success intoxicating. Zach confirmed the package's arrival in Seoul, and Cullen's confidence soared. But the second kilo loomed, a riskier proposition with no Zach to collect it. Cullen considered abandoning it, but greed won out. He stuffed the hashish into a sleeping bag, forcing Rocket to write the fake names. If we get caught, it won't be my handwriting, he rationalized, ignoring the absurdity of his logic. In that moment, Cullen Thomas stood at the edge of a precipice. The first success had emboldened him, but the second package was a gamble with stakes he couldn't fathom. As he and Rocket approached the post office, the weight of their choices began to crush them. And in the Philippines, the penalty for smuggling was not just prison, it was death. At the Manila post office, Cullen's nerves unraveled. Rocket, distraught, begged him to reconsider. In a moment of cowardice, Cullen handed her the box. They'll suspect a woman less, he said, hating himself for the words. Rocket, trembling, agreed. Inside, the clerk insisted on express shipping, registering the package, a decision that would haunt them. Rocket emerged, pale but relieved. It's done, she said. Cullen, angry at the change in plans, snapped, but the weight of the package was off their shoulders. For now.
The Reckoning in Seoul.
Back in Seoul, Cullen and Rocket stayed with Zach, basking in the profits from the first kilo. This is just the start, Cullen told Rocket, visions of a dealer's life dancing in his head. Rocket, disgusted, withdrew, her love for Cullen strained by his recklessness. I want my sleeping bag, she said. I need to get away from this. Reluctantly, Cullen agreed to retrieve the second package. At the post office, Rocket's warning, we could be walking into our demise, echoed in his mind, but he laughed it off. Inside, the sight of Korean men reading newspapers triggered his intuition. But he pushed forward. At the counter, He signed for the package, its worn appearance raising alarms. The clerk's sly smile unnerved him, but Cullen took the box, thinking of the night ahead. In a single moment, Cullen Thomas's world collapsed. The package, his ticket to wealth, became his undoing. As the authorities closed in, he faced a truth he'd ignored. No one is invincible. And the price of his arrogance would be paid not just by him, but by those he loved. Detectives grabbed Cullen, the package spilling its contents, a powdery mist of hashish. "This is a serious crime in Korea," one said. Cullen denied ownership, but the game was over. His thoughts raced to Rocket, waiting outside. "Please don't let them take her," he prayed. The detectives pressed him about the girl at the front, but Cullen insisted he was alone, his heart breaking at the thought of her fate. In interrogation, Prosecutor Shin, a cold and unyielding figure, showed no mercy. The detective called Cullen's father in New York, and hearing his voice, "What's wrong? What's happened?" shattered Cullen. "I've disgraced them," he thought, the weight of his actions crushing him. Rocket, mercifully, had fled to the U.S. Embassy and returned to New York, a small reprieve in the storm.
Hell in confinement.
The Seoul Detention Center was a nightmare. 4.5 feet by 9. A concrete box that smelled of despair. The clang of the cell door was final, a sound that echoed in Cullen's soul. "I can't do this," he sobbed, his mind rebelling against the years ahead. Nightmares of Rocket, of his family's shame kept him awake, his sanity fraying. A young Colombian inmate, Billy the Kid, became an unlikely ally. "Don't let the time use you," Billy said. "Use it." He advised Cullen to claim the hashish was for personal use, to lessen the charges. In Shin's office, Cullen spun a lie about mixing 12 grams into coffee. An absurd claim, but Shin accepted it, securing a smuggling conviction but sparing the selling charge. In the darkness of his cell, Cullen Thomas found a spark of resilience. He couldn't undo his crimes, but he could fight to survive, to reclaim some shred of himself. But 7 years loomed large, with no parole in sight. Would Cullen hold on, or would the prison break him? Cullen served every day, the monotony grinding him down. But Billy's words echoed, and he began a routine. Yoga each morning, journaling his thoughts. "I had to become one of the strong ones," he said. The act of writing, of reflecting, gave him purpose, a way to process the guilt and shame.
A family reunited.
After 3.5 years, Cullen was released, his sentence reduced for good behavior. At the airport, his family waited, unsure of the man they'd receive. When he saw his mother, her eyes filled with tears and anger, Cullen broke down. "Don't ever do that again," she said, smacking him lightly. He smiled, tears streaming. "Never," he promised. Back in New York, Cullen rebuilt his life, haunted by his past, but determined to make amends. He took a teaching job, wrote in his spare time, and volunteered at a community center, helping at-risk youth avoid the mistakes he'd made. "I can't erase what I did," he said, "but I can do better." In the quiet of a new life, Cullen Thomas became a silent hero. He didn't save thousands, but he saved himself, and in doing so, he gave hope to others. The skills he once used to smuggle, quick thinking, determination, he now used to build, to heal.
A letter and a legacy.
One day, a letter arrived, the handwriting unmistakable. It was from Rocket. "I'm okay," she wrote. "I've moved on, but I forgive you. Be well, Cal." Cullen read the words, his heart unburdened. Knowing she was all right was everything, he said. It let me move forward. Rocket's forgiveness was the final piece of Cullen's redemption. He continued teaching, his classroom a place of second chances. "I was a fool," he told his students, "but you don't have to be." His story became a cautionary tale, a testament to the power of change. Cullen Thomas is a paradox, a dreamer who chased adventure, a smuggler who broke the law, a man who fought to redeem himself. His story challenges us to ask, can we judge a man by his worst moments or by the life he builds from the ashes? Cullen found his answer in the lives he touched, in the forgiveness he earned, and in the man he became. As we close this chapter, one question lingers. Are we ready to forgive Cullen Thomas? Or will we forever see him through the lens of his past? That's for you, our audience, to decide. For Cullen, the journey continues, not as a hero or a villain, but as a man who chose to write a new ending to his story. In the gritty heart of a South African city, a young woman can dream of escape or stumble into a trap that threatens to destroy her. Nelda van Wyk, a soul adrift in Durban, sought a life beyond her pain, chasing a promise of freedom and fortune, but her path led to a world of drugs, prisons, and fear. This is the story of a dreamer, a smuggler, and a survivor who fought to reclaim her heart. From the bleak streets of Durban to the sun-soaked beaches of Brazil, from the horrors of a Rio prison to the quiet redemption of home, Nelda's journey poses a haunting question. Can a woman outrun her past, or will it forever define her? Join us as we unravel the life of Nelda van Wyk, a tale of rejection, betrayal, and renewal.
A life in shadows.
In Durban, where the ocean's roar met the city's hustle, Nelda van Wyk grew up under a cloud of secrets. Born to a working-class family, she learned at 16 that she was adopted, a truth her parents had hidden. "It broke me," Nelda later recalled, her voice heavy with hurt. "I felt like I didn't belong." The revelation shattered her sense of self, leaving her adrift in a world that felt like it had rejected her. At 22, Nelda worked as a receptionist in a seedy hotel, checking in prostitutes and drifters. The thin walls echoed with sounds that haunted her sleep. "I was shy, out of place," she said. "I hated it." Her relationship with her parents, strained by years of unspoken truths, was a mess. "I didn't believe they loved me," she admitted. To numb the pain, she turned to cocaine, the drug offering a fleeting escape. "For a moment, everything felt okay," she said. But the highs always crashed, leaving her sobbing in her rented room, dreaming of a way out. Nelda van Wyk was a young woman lost in her own life, a soul searching for belonging in a world that seemed to push her away. In Durban's shadows, she dreamed of freedom. But dreams can lead to dangerous paths when the wrong hand offers salvation. For Nelda, that hand reached out in a hotel bar, and it would change her life forever. One late night, drowning her sorrows, Nelda confided in a friend about her longing to leave South Africa. A man nearby overheard. "Name's Mike," he said, his smile warm. "I can get you to Brazil, all expenses paid." Nelda's heart skipped. Brazil, samba, beaches, a new start. "What's the catch?" she asked. Mike's eyes glinted. "Bring back a package, 2 kilos of cocaine, 20,000 rand. Fear flickered, but the promise of $2,000 and a new life drowned it. "Okay," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm in. 20,000 rand, To a woman trapped in a dead-end job, it was a lifeline, a chance to rewrite her story. But it was also a pact with darkness. Nelda, desperate and naive, didn't see the trap. She saw hope. With a single word in a smoky bar, she stepped into a game she wasn't ready to play. Mike arranged everything: ticket, hotel, spending money. As Nelda boarded the plane, Durban's gray skyline faded, and she dreamed of Brazil's vibrant promise.
The lure of Rio.
Rio de Janeiro greeted Nelda like a fever dream. The plane descended over Copacabana's golden sands, and the humid air wrapped around her. It was a different world, she said, eyes wide with wonder. Samba music pulsed, street vendors called, and the scent of grilled meat filled the air. In her new clothes, Nelda stood out, her shyness melting under the sun. Her hotel was a slice of paradise. Ocean views, a rooftop bar, a pool shimmering under the stars. I felt alive, she said. She danced at beach parties, laughed with strangers, and spent Mike's $2,000 freely. I was free to be myself, she said. In South Africa, her identity as a gay woman had been a secret, a burden. In Rio, she embraced it, finding joy and openness. I hadn't been happy in years, she said. For a woman from Durban, Rio was a dazzling escape from pain. Music, freedom, and newfound confidence swirled around her. Nelda dove in, blind to the dangers lurking beneath the city's glow. Paradise always has a shadow, and for Nelda, that shadow was about to darken. On her third day, Mike's contact called. A man named Paulo waited at the hotel. Nelda's stomach knotted, but the promise of money pushed her forward. In her room, Paulo handed her a black bag. 2 kilos strapped to your body, he said. Nelda froze. My body? She asked, voice shaking. Paulo's eyes were cold. No time to argue. We're late. He taped the cocaine to her chest, the weight suffocating. I couldn't breathe, she said, but I had no choice.
The high and the fall.
For days, Nelda lived Rio's dream, partying, dancing, forgetting the package. But the deal loomed. At a club, she tried more cocaine, chasing the high. It made me feel invincible, she said. But the crash came hard. Sweat, panic, a racing heart. I thought I'd die, she recalled. A friend got her to a clinic where she recovered, shaken. What am I doing? She asked herself. Guilt flooding in. Her mother's voice echoed. You'll end up in prison. The smuggling felt heavier now. What if this hurts someone? She wondered. But Paulo's men, with their hard stares, left no room for escape. The night before her flight, Nelda barely slept, the cocaine's weight pressing on her chest. I knew it was wrong, she said, but I was trapped. Nelda Van Wyck tasted fear that night, a warning she couldn't heed. The deal she'd made was a chain around her soul. She was a pawn in a deadly game. And the paradise she'd found was crumbling. The true test was coming, and it would break her.
The weight of the cocaine.
The day arrived. Nelda left the hotel, Rio's vibrancy fading behind her. In a cramped room, Paulo's men strapped 2 kilos of cocaine to her body. It was like a cage, she said. The tape dug into her skin, itching unbearably. In a mirror, she saw a stranger, pale, eyes wide with dread. Who am I? She thought. Paulo's men drove her to the airport, their silence oppressive. I felt watched, she said. At Galeão Airport, police and dogs patrolled. Her heart pounded. I wanted to tear it off, she said, but I was trapped. Nelda stood at the edge of a precipice, cocaine strapped to her chest. Every step through that airport was a gamble with her life. She thought she'd outsmarted the system, but fate was watching. In a single moment, her world would tremble. At security, a metal detector beeped. Nelda's navel piercing triggered it. God, please, she prayed as a guard waved her through. They're paid off, she thought, relief flooding. She boarded the plane to Durban, collapsing in her seat, believing she'd escaped.
The Close Call.
Back in Durban, Nelda met Mike. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice soft. "It was supposed to be in your bag." He handed her 20,000 rand, and the weight lifted. It was worth it, she thought, despite the fear. But the thrill and money pulled her deeper. Over 18 months, she smuggled cocaine from Turkey, Ethiopia, Mozambique, earning hundreds of thousands of rand. "I felt like Superwoman," she said, laughing. New clothes, parties, drugs. She lived large, untouchable. But at Johannesburg's airport, after a Europe trip, customs stopped her. "Why were you in Brazil?" they asked, searching her bag. Her photo flashed on a screen. Suspected drug trafficker. Nelda's heart sank. "I'm done," she told Mike. He turned cold. "You stop when I say," he growled, threatening her family. "I know where they live." Nelda, terrified, agreed to one last job. Nelda Van Wyck's paradise turned to ash. The money and freedom she'd chased became a trap. She thought she could walk away, but Mike's threats chained her to the game. The worst was yet to come, a nightmare no Durban woman could imagine.
The Fall.
For her final job, Nelda met a woman in a ramshackle Rio house. The suitcase held 4 kilos, double her usual. "It's overweight," she protested. "It's fine," the woman snapped. At the airport, Nelda watched the scale, 23 kilos, just under the limit. "I can do this," she told herself, heart pounding. But at security, police approached. "Come with us," they said. They opened her suitcase, revealing the cocaine. 4 kilos, a mountain of white powder. In that moment, Nelda's world collapsed. 4 kilograms of cocaine, packed in her suitcase, became her prison. As handcuffs clicked, her freedom ended, and a new hell began, one that would test her soul. Driven to a Rio prison, Nelda was a wreck. The gates loomed, screams echoing inside. "I was the only foreigner," she said. Inmates, hardened by violence, stripped her of possessions. "They took everything," she said. Her first night, a fight broke out. Screams, a bang, then silence. The next morning, a body was carried out, head thumping on the stairs. "That sound haunted me," she said.
Hell Behind Bars. The prison was chaos. No boundaries, no respect. It was hell, Nelda said. Drug use was rampant, and inmates ruled. Nelda, vulnerable as a foreigner, faced constant threats. "A wrong word could get you killed," she said. She hid in her cell, guilt and fear consuming her. Her sentence, 5 years and 10 months. "My world crumbled," she said. To survive, she hid drugs for another inmate, chipping a hole in the wall with tweezers. "I had no choice," she said. During a cell search, guards came close to the hidden stash. "My heart stopped," she said. A guard nearly uncovered it, but a shout diverted them. "I was shaking," Nelda said, relieved but terrified. In Rio's prison, Nelda Van Wyck faced a crucible of fear and despair. She'd lost herself to smuggling, and now she was losing her humanity. But even in hell, a spark of hope can ignite. For Nelda, that spark came in a letter, and a love she never expected. A letter from her parents arrived. "We don't judge you," they wrote. "You're suffering enough." Nelda wept. "They still loved me," she said. "I was worth something." Their forgiveness gave her strength to endure, finding love in hell.
When the drug-hiding inmate left, Nelda stopped. A new cellmate, Naya, arrived. She was different, Nelda said. Kind. Naya introduced her to reading and the prison school. She made me feel human, Nelda said. One night, Naya's hand touched hers, a spark stronger than any drug. I fell in love, Nelda said, laughing. In a prison cell, I found heaven. Naya's friendship, then love, transformed Nelda. I was looking for acceptance in drugs, she said, but love completed me. After 2 years and 4 months, a guard called her. Pack your bags, you're free. Nelda's heart broke. Leaving Naya was agony. Go, Naya said, kissing her cheek. My soul stayed with her, Nelda said. In the darkest place, Nelda Van Wyck found light. Love gave her purpose, a reason to fight, but freedom came with pain, leaving Naya behind. As she stepped into the world, she carried a vow to make her life mean something.
A new beginning.
Back in South Africa, Nelda reunited with Naya, who was released soon after. On April 10th, 2021, they married. The happiest day of my life, Nelda said. She became a firefighter, a dream job, and a mother to 3 adopted children. They taught me family, she said. My parents loved me, despite everything. Her memoir warned others of smuggling's cost. I regret it, she said. But prison gave me Naya, my family, my purpose. Nelda Van Wyck is a paradox, a dreamer who lost her way, a smuggler who broke the law, a woman who found redemption in love. Her story challenges us. Can we judge her by her worst mistakes, or by the life she built from them? Nelda found her answer in the family she created, the forgiveness she earned, and the woman she became. As we leave her, one question lingers. Are we ready to forgive Nelda Van Wyck? That's for you to decide. For Nelda, the journey continues, one step toward redemption at a time. In the sun-scorched sprawl of a border town, a young man can dream of the American dream, or fall into a trap that threatens to destroy everything he holds dear. Chris Taylor, a college graduate with hopes of success, sought to build a life for his family in El Paso. But his choices led him to a world of drugs, cartels, and betrayal. This is the story of a dreamer, a smuggler, and a man who risked everything to save his loved ones. From the dusty streets of Texas to the dangerous mansions of Juarez, from the confines of a county jail to the quiet redemption of freedom, Chris's journey poses a haunting question. Can a man escape the consequences of his choices, or will they forever define him? Join us as we unravel the life of Chris Taylor, a tale of loyalty, deception, and salvation.
The American Dream.
In El Paso, where the desert sun beat down on cracked sidewalks, Chris Taylor grew up with big dreams. A bright student, he enrolled in a major university to study business law, envisioning a life of success. A house, a family, a legacy. I wanted to prove myself, Chris later recalled, his voice tinged with ambition. His best friend, Jake, shared his classes, but not his caution. Jake was wild, Chris said, like a bag of squirrels, full of energy and no rules. The two were like brothers, bonding over late-night parties and shared dreams. But while Chris aimed for the straight path, college, a career, Jake thrived on breaking rules. He was into drugs, Chris said, dealing for a Juarez cartel, making piles of money. Chris admired Jake's fearless charm, but clung to his own path. I wanted to do it right, he said. Chris Taylor was a young man with a heart full of promise, chasing the American dream. But dreams can falter when life's pressures mount. In El Paso, a single choice would pull him into a world he never imagined, a world that would test his loyalty and his soul. After graduation, Chris moved to Birmingham, Alabama, for an entry-level accounting job. It was my big break, he said. But the pay was low, the hours long. Then came a call from his college sweetheart, Missy. "I'm pregnant," she said. Chris's heart soared. "I'm coming back," he promised, returning to El Paso to build a life with her and their unborn child. But jobs were scarce, and their savings dwindled. "We were facing eviction," he said. "I felt like a failure."
The temptation.
In El Paso, Chris struggled to find work. Bills piled up, and Missy's pregnancy added pressure. "I was scared," he admitted. One night he confided in Jake, now living large off cartel money. "He had a yacht," Chris said, laughing bitterly. "I just needed $2,000 to keep us afloat." Jake handed him $4,000, no questions asked. "But now you owe me," Jake said, his smile sharp. Chris took the money, relief washing over him. "It saved us," he said, but the debt came with a catch. Jake offered a way out: drive a car with 120 pounds of marijuana from El Paso to Wichita, Kansas. "Easy as pie," Jake said. "You're clear after this." Chris hesitated, his dream of a lawful life flickering. "Just this once," he told himself, nodding. Yes. $4,000. To a man facing eviction, it was salvation. But it was also a chain. Chris Taylor, desperate to provide, stepped into a dangerous game. He thought it was a one-time deal, but the cartel's world doesn't let go so easily. Jake's right-hand man, Byron, loaded the car with marijuana, masking the scent with motor oil and baby powder. "It was thousands of pounds," Chris said, stunned. What had I gotten into? Jake clapped his shoulder. "Easy peasy. Get it done."
The first run.
The drive to Wichita was a 10-hour gauntlet. Chris faced a border checkpoint, his heart pounding. "I acted like a skier headed to the mountains," he said. The agent asked, "No snow up there, huh?" Chris forced a laugh. "I'll slide on dirt." The agent waved him through. "I thought I was done for," Chris said, relief flooding. In Wichita, at a trailer park, men unloaded the drugs and slapped cash into his hand. "I felt like I'd won," he said. The trip back was smooth. Too smooth. "It was easy," he said. "I saw why Jake did it." Jake paid him and offered another run, $12,000 to Memphis. "I'm not Mr. Goody Two-Shoes anymore," Chris said, agreeing, temptation overriding caution. Chris Taylor tasted success, but it was laced with poison. The money pulled him deeper, blinding him to the danger. He thought he could control the game, but the cartel was playing by different rules. The real cost was coming. Over months, Chris made run after run, earning $50,000 in good weeks. He hid money around the house, telling Missy nothing. "She didn't ask," he said. The bills were paid. He lived a double life, father by day, smuggler by night. "I thought I could walk away," he said. "Just a little more money, then I'm out."
The cartel's grip.
Jake's next job changed everything. "We're going to Juarez," he said, driving Chris to a cartel mansion. Armed guards stood watch, their earpieces glinting. I was terrified, Chris said. Inside, the cartel boss, Adon, greeted him. You'll bring my money from Jake's runs, he said. To Mexico. Chris's stomach dropped. What did Jake sign me up for? He thought. Refusal wasn't an option. Okay, he said, dread settling in. A week later, Jake handed him a backpack of cash. Take my motorcycle, he said. It's faster. Crossing into Juarez, Chris felt exposed. At an intersection, a car pulled up, guns drawn. This is it, he thought, ramming the throttle to escape. He delivered the money to Adon, who smiled. You're a good guy, he said. You'll do well. Chris didn't feel good. I was in too deep, he said. Chris Taylor was no longer a small-time smuggler. The cartel's eyes were on him, and the stakes were life and death. He thought he was helping his family, but he was sinking into a trap that threatened to consume them all.
The Fall.
On a run to Wichita with 258 pounds of marijuana, Chris felt uneasy. Something was off, he said. Near Amarillo, a state trooper's lights flashed. I'm a salesman, Chris lied, but a canine unit arrived. The dog barked and the trunk revealed the drugs. I was done, Chris said. Handcuffs clicked and his world collapsed. I wished for a tornado to take me away, he said. At Potter County Jail, the reality hit. You are here because you were stupid, read graffiti on his bunk. Missy was furious. You're a criminal, she said. What about our son? Chris begged her to contact Jake. Get me out, he pleaded. Jake's lawyer secured bail, but freedom was temporary. I'd let her down, Chris said. In that jail cell, Chris Taylor's dreams of the American dream turned to ash. 258 pounds of marijuana became his prison. But the worst was yet to come. A betrayal that would force him to choose between loyalty and survival.
The Betrayal.
Back home, Chris met Jake to assure him he hadn't talked. I stayed loyal, he said. But Jake's tone shifted. You were speeding, weren't you? He accused. Chris saw cracks in their friendship. That night, Jake and a man named Hank appeared at his house. He's my insurance policy, Jake said. Hank's eyes were soulless. Talk to the cops and I'll kill your kids, your wife, and torture you, he said. Chris froze, fear searing his soul. Jake betrayed me, he said. He was my brother. The threat pushed Chris to act. I had to protect my family, he said. He contacted the DEA, confessing everything. It's not enough, his handler said. Go back. Wear a wire. Chris's heart sank. Becoming an informant meant betraying Jake, but Hank's words echoed. I had no choice, he said. Chris Taylor stood at a crossroads, torn between loyalty to a friend and love for his family. The cartel's threat left him no choice but betrayal. He stepped into a dangerous dance, one that could cost him everything.
The Double Cross.
Wearing a wire, Chris approached Jake, fear gnawing at him. If he saw it, I was dead, he said. He tried to spark incriminating talk, but Jake was cagey. Let's tase people at the mall, Jake laughed, snapping a taser. Chris's heart raced. He's a monster, he thought. Weeks passed, with Chris feeding the DEA tapes, but they wanted more. They needed a big score, he said. Hank's threat loomed, and Chris hid guns around his house, paranoia consuming him. Then Jake needed a stash house. I'll rent one, Chris said, seeing his chance. The DEA wired a garage with cameras and microphones. When Jake and Byron delivered thousands of pounds of marijuana, Chris alerted his handler. He's red-handed, he said, but the plan faltered. Byron was arrested, but Jake fled to Mexico, watching from a parking lot. He slipped away, Chris's handler said. Chris's blood ran cold. Jake was free and my family wasn't safe, he said. Chris Taylor's plan unraveled, leaving him exposed. Jake's escape meant danger lingered, a shadow over his family. He'd betrayed his friend, but the cartel's reach was long. The fight for redemption was far from over.
The Waiting Game.
Weeks turned to months. Chris saw Hank at a store, his grin chilling. "Nice family," Hank said. Chris fled, panic overwhelming. Jake could send him any time, he said. The DEA couldn't touch Jake in Mexico. "Be patient," they said. Missy grew distant. "I didn't give her the dream," Chris said. "Just misery." His marriage frayed and hope faded. The case was dying, he said. Jake was untouchable. Then, a call from his handler. "Jake's dead." Chris's heart jolted. Jake's truck was found in St. Louis with $200,000 hidden, but no body. "The cartel got him," the handler said. "He owed them." Chris felt joy, then guilt. "Nobody won," Missy said, her eyes cold. Jake's family held a memorial, and Chris believed he was gone. "But I keep a gun, just in case," he said. Chris Taylor's nightmare ended, but not cleanly. Jake's death freed his family, but the cost was steep. His marriage, his dreams, his peace. As he stepped into freedom, he carried a vow to rebuild what he'd lost, no matter the price.
A fragile redemption.
Chris and Missy separated. The strain of his choices too much. "I wrecked us," he said. He moved to a quiet Texas town working construction.
"No one hires a felon for stocks,"
he said. He saw his son on weekends teaching him baseball.
"I want to be the father I failed to be,"
he said. He spoke to youth groups warning against crime.
"I'm no good man,"
he said.
"but I try."
Jake's fate remained a mystery. Rumors of cartel vengeance lingered.
"I'm a rat to some,"
Chris said.
"but I'm free."
His life was simpler, scarred but honest.
"I lost the American dream,"
he said.
"but I found redemption in trying."
Chris Taylor is a paradox, a dreamer who lost his way, a smuggler who betrayed his friend, a father who found redemption in protecting his own. His story challenges us. Can we judge a man by his worst choices, or by the lengths he goes to make amends? Chris found his answer in the family he saved, the lessons he shared, and the man he strives to be. As we leave him, one question lingers. Are we ready to forgive Chris Taylor?
That's for you to decide.
For Chris, the journey continues, one step toward redemption at a time.